I watch his gameplay, I just flame his movement.
Mm.
He Burger Kings too much.
Uh-huh.
My movement on this map is like awful. I wasn't warmed up at all.
So sway records. I guess I'm gonna still make like quick notes.
Mm.
Yeah, I can
Mm.
always send you my notes after the
Oh
scrim as
yeah,
well if you prefer. I'll tighten them
you
up a
have
little bit
those.
because some of them are shorthand for my brain, but I'll
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
flesh them out a little bit and then send them over if you want that.
Okay, yeah,
Hopefully we'll
please.
have the log too. Should I? Is it rude to ping Fox? He's like in a game right now.
Is he on Overwatch?
No. Oh well, I guess yeah.
Playing
I'm
Modric,
gonna
playing
ping
Overwatch 2,
him.
how he do that?
How do you do that?
All that with a hotspot. Crazy work.
Oh, oh, cute face.
Yes, I am.
There we go.
Hello, Fox.
Sorry, I was trying to wrap up saying goodbye to a random person I met on Dota.
Aw, best friends.
Yeah, I was crap talking him. I was saying he was useless, and then he said it back, and then we were being nice to each other, so we just added him.
Aw.
Also, I see this is Sway's alt account.
Yep.
I
He's on
wonder
his phone
why.
right now, so I don't know if he'll be able to be piping up too often. So you guys might have to put on your best Sway impressions and
Uh-huh.
uh, try and
I
predict
can't
what you
speak
think he would say.
Swedish. The only thing I can say in Swedish are swear words.
All right, we'll get this started then. I might catch Arwen up on a few things when he gets here because some of my points will have things to do with him, but we'll get started. What I've decided I want to do is start with your games from yesterday. Um, because there's a fine line between um, teachable games and non-teachable games. I don't think your game against VA Unity was a stomp by any means, but it was a 3-0 loss, and I think you kind of got lost in the sauce in some places, and when a team loses their mental, that's a little bit harder to coach, if that makes sense. However, yesterday the biggest thing I would probably say that went wrong in general was just that you guys weren't warm, which is the first biggest thing that I will say. If there is any possible way that you can make it work for future tournaments, reschedule it with an admin if you have to or whatever, but I would strongly recommend you set aside an hour before a tournament
Mm.
to warm up together as a team, because it doesn't matter if you're warm as an individual player or anything, if as a
Yeah,
team you don't have that synergy warmed up together. It felt like you only actually hit your stride towards the end of the King's Row game in this set of Tawny games yesterday, and you could have used a lot of that on Oasis, which is why like a lot of Oasis I won't even pay attention to because it's just a sign of lack of team coordination, unfortunately, and that's just a sign of you not being fully warm just yet, right? But that's okay. There are some stuff that is workable and is very useful to point out, so we'll take it from here. But yeah, we'll start with the Oasis. This is the games against Rex Ignis yesterday, and we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna close my Steam so you don't see my random friends playing video games whilst I'm trying to coach you guys. There we go. Cool. Right, let's get this show on the road. So you guys decide to roll out on your old faithful. You go for the Ram Brawl. Um, and they immediately roll out on what appears to be their signature comp as well, which is including the hazard. And this serves to be an issue quite a few times in the overall Tawny games against these guys. But I liked to see that you guys were adapting as much as you could to see if you could counter them with the hero pools and stuff that you have. Does anyone have any immediate thoughts about that first fight?
He just fucking blew up.
It was a bit painful going up top, to be fair. I think I was struggling. Or I think I kind of backed off. I was like, I don't want to do it. So I just didn't. Because that section is always a scary place to go.
Why do you usually want to take high ground on this map?
It's just a good angle. Just a good angle. At least it's a good angle for me to stage me in a good place. Rather than press shift.
So yeah, that's obviously an element.
But it's alright,
So-
neither do I.
Whoa, what is that? Christ almighty. Right, so the first thing I want to go over as far as this is concerned is an old stat that used to be thrown around a lot back in the day, that if you win the first fight of a King of the Hill game, you are like 65% more likely to actually win the round. Have you guys heard of that one?
I believe that.
Wait,
I
what? Say
believe
that
that too.
again? My brain
So-
went poof.
From some old Overwatch League statistics, if they won the first fight, like proper fight too, like not just out rotating and extending the fight, I mean like actual fight. So in this case, it's this brief like 10 seconds or so for you guys. If they win that fight, the team that wins is around 65% more likely to actually win the entire round.
Yeah, that makes sense, because
Yeah,
the beginning of a fight is where you start to snowball, you know,
yeah, completely.
because then you get the better position.
It's not so much that it can't be flipped. Obviously, many teams have come back from having lost the first fight to win the entire round. But the most important thing, like there's a lot of naysayers to like going too far with that theory and immediately feeling like a round is lost after you lose the first fight. That's just not conducive to winning in general, right? The main thing to take away from that, though, is that from my perspective at least, the biggest thing that makes that statistic possible is the ult economy of it, right? By getting those kills, by doing that damage, and by killing your team in that first fight, they are immediately ahead in the ult economy. And if I play this, you'll see that by the end of this fight, both the Hazard and the Venture are more than double the ult charge that our tank and our flex DPS are. And that's huge in the grand scheme of things, right? Obviously, it's early days and the fight was very fast, so there's still more than a chance that you guys can win this. But having that in mind, that arguably the first fight of a King of the Hill like this is the most important, can be very useful over time, ideally. The other thing I wanted to talk about was map control. So,
Aran.
hello, Aran. So, I'm sure you guys know of it, right?
Yes.
But in general, the whole theory is that the geometry of the map should be forced to work in your favor rather than against you, right? So it's like, why would you not play Reinhardt on Jib, for example?
Because he has no vertical. He has no mobility, realistically. You want to play
All right.
vertical.
Yeah. And why ideally, obviously some teams run it and it can work in their favor if that's what their team comp allows to it, but why in general, especially for a playstyle like your team, would you not run a Sigma on a push map?
Because
Just run over by everything.
100%. The whole essence of not only push maps as a game mode, but also the geometry of most of those maps are, shocker, pushing you forwards, right? You want to press W, and Sigma's entire kit does not work with that. He's more of a bait and switch kind of guy. He wants to bait you in, then go for a rock, and then maybe he can collapse. But at best, he's holding the line somewhere, right? And that's why Sigma can be a little bit spicy to play on a map like that, for example. Now, back to the map control shenanigans. So, both teams are entering like so, right? And wanting to take this high ground at the beginning of the game is not a bad idea, as far as I'm concerned, even on the comp that you're on. Obviously, most of the time, Brawl will be like playing up into main, but the last thing you want to do, regardless of what comp they have, is give them this high ground for free. So I can't remember exactly who called it at the time, but the call to take high ground, or at least attempt to, was decent. I've got no problems with that. However, the issue that arises very quickly is this line that I will draw here. Why do you think I'm drawing this line?
I mean,
Because
It's
well,
just-
if they cross it, or like the person who cross it, then they have the high ground, like for themselves mostly.
Yeah, basically. Like the whole vibe of fighting for high ground or fighting for space is for the map control. And I'm using that phrase a lot, but it genuinely has tactile uses. If you manage to cross this line, if our Ramatra ends up here, he forces their team back to here. And what makes it even better is that now not only do you have these stairs to get out, but you have this, and ideally also this to back out should you need it. You now have 3 options of escape should they try and flip the fight on you, and all the goddamn space, right? Now, with that in mind, I'd like you to watch how the fight actually goes, and then tell me who gets the map control.
I think I accidentally just moved myself to a different VC.
Oh, welcome back, Doc.
Goodbye. I already have a theory. The has wall like somehow cuts us from getting it. It's like an extra tank for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Piece to fed.
Like, Has is disgusting. He is May, he is Queen, he is Monkey, and he is Doomfist, all rolled into one, right? Like, he has a lot of potential to control the map with ease and survivability with his right click, right? So, like, I'm not necessarily blaming you guys for how this fight went down. It was spicy. The Hazard has more mobility from you guys, so he immediately jumps to here, and then he walls here. He zones out your Ramatra, and the rest of your team is forced back here. What I will make a note of is something that Fox already mentioned, is that if there is any doubt in your team's mind about where you are going, I need you to cleanse that from your brains as soon as it is called, especially by your tank. I don't give a fuck if you have any reservations about what's going on, you commit. And I think about a big part of the issue that was arising here was also that it almost looked like part of your team was still undecided. You were all kind of floating down here whilst your Ramatra's fighting for his goddamn life up here. And by the time he falls over, there's no one to help, right? Look at these guys here, right? Obviously, this is a little bit too late in the fight to
I feel
show
like I
it.
just wasn't able. I wouldn't be able to swing because if I would, by the time it takes for me to actually wait, where am I? I'm actually in the perfect spot. Oh no, I'm taking too long. I'm playing cautious because I didn't know if they had a Lucy or not. Okay, you know what? I could have actually pushed up a bit more.
Like,
Could have played a bit more.
I get it. As the second you look at that team, it is spicy to play against to see you guys, but a potential of standing here could have been huge.
Yeah.
You know, like even your Lucio wall riding over to here, peppering onto them, allowing your Ram to make more space, because Sway is awesome and Ram is very strong, but Ram alone is never gonna take the amount of map control that you need, right? He already pushed to here, he already put his shield down. Ram has done his job. When the Hazard goes to put his wall down here, I want the rest of you to be pushing to help him support that. And I don't mean just pressing W into their backlines, obviously. You have to be relatively smart about it. But falling, you could have also maybe climbed up here, gone for some shots on the backline and stuff like that, right? The biggest issue with this approach is all of you huddling in this stairs area here is destined for disaster, especially against a Hazard, right?
Yeah. I should have just slid in. Because I should have not slid in, but slid on top of that thing. Because realistically, if I do get cold feet, I can just jump back down.
You could have slid from main onto here if you really wanted to, right? And peppered them from here, and then you can always just drop back down again should you need to. But this whole off angles vibe is something that's going to unfortunately come up quite a few times in this, and I'll be able to go into it with more clarity kind of later on, because this is a very fast first fight, and I won't be able to like get across the point I'm trying to make thoroughly enough. But yeah, those are my main points about the first fight. It's very important that you, especially in the first fight, go for as much map control as possible. It's why, like, you know, when you meet in main here, 9 times out of 10, your tank will be wanting to push as far forward as humanly possible ideally Ram will be putting his shield like here and standing here so that the rest of you all have all of these angles. Maybe you want to go up to high ground, or maybe your supports just want to hang down here, but you've got all of this space to deal with. They are forced into this choke unless they push into your Ram, in which case all of your teammates can collapse on them as they do, right? That's map control, right? Okay. That point over. Oh, there we go. We'll fast forward it a little bit.
Oh no, that one health Juno.
Yep. She survives in your backline for so damn long.
No.
Look at her.
I don't. Did I notice her?
I don't think so. And that's okay. There's a lot of these fights that I'm just going to breeze over because unfortunately it's just a lack of team synergy and target focus, which is fine. You guys know that that's a focus of yours in general, and it becomes apparent to you guys later in the tourney anyway, because you start going the ball venture comp to kind of low-key force yourself through your heroes' play styles to target the same thing. And that kind of fixes it through proxy. So I won't criticize these. It was a really valiant effort. You like pushed into halls and you chased a few kills, and that was really good. It was just an unfortunate lack of target focus and overall team cohesion that lost you that fight. I won't hammer home about it too much. This bit happens to you a lot. So returning back to the team comp theory thing that I was talking about, right? Asking you guys why you wouldn't want to usually play Rhine on Jib or a Sigma on a push map, that kind of thing, right? When you're talking about team, like the theory behind what you're attempting to achieve in team comps, what's your win condition versus their win condition? What do we think the enemy's win condition is at this moment in time?
Separating someone with the wall and killing them.
Yeah, perfect. So you've got the Venture, you've got the Hazard, you've got the Juno for speed, you've got the Kiri for bailout, and you've got the Cass just for some supportive, consistent damage, right? The main players in this, however, are the Hazard, followed closely behind by the Venture. Their whole goal is for a bursty dive, so to speak, on one of your squishies to zone them out entirely, or at worst, zone out your Ram, so that the Venture can then go and pester your backline whilst the Ram is helpless, right? That's their win condition. They've done this for quite a few fights now. They will continue to attempt to do this to you quite a few times. We had the Surge at first, but now we've switched to Cast. So what has your win condition changed to now?
Just to stop them diving.
Yeah.
The cast is like the Has gets less value because he can't. In theory, he can't get away with his combos as much if we have Hinder. The Venture can't aggressively dig in as much with the Hinder.
100%. It's putting the fear of God in them, right? You're effectively going a form of counter dive, right? The Cass exists to add an extra layer of security to your backline to hopefully scare the Hazard and the Venture into submission. However, that is on paper, right? And in practice, what that means in a team fight is when these two teams collide, this team is waiting for this team to go first. because that is the whole point of your comp now that you've switched to Cassidy. You are waiting for them to push you so that you can shut them down. And unfortunately, on a King of the Hill, that might work less in your favor than you'd want, because now you're playing a waiting game, forcing them to engage on you, and then hopefully you can capitalize on it. But what happened more often than not is that because Sway's natural playstyle is very aggressive, he is pushing in and leaving you to die. Right?
Mm.
And that's not necessarily anyone's fault in particular. It's more of like a general group conversation that needs to be had when you're making these hero swaps like this. Right, we're pushing to shut down this hazard as soon as he jumps in. It's not the end of the world. You can still play a counter dive kind of comp on King of the Hill. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that the whole team is now revolving around that. Imagine a vortex on that hazard or the venture when she comes out of dig. That as well as Hinder, as well as Suzu, they fall over. But what was instead happening was that Ram was pushing forward as if he was still in a classic brawl, and they were just achieving their win condition for free. Because that allowed all of this space between your Ram and your backline to just get mellied, right?
Mm.
So I really can't stress enough, if you're swapping to things like Cass, unfortunately, in like a tourney environment, and even in a scrim environment as well, to be fair, something as simple as just swapping the tank or just swapping the hit scan DPS completely changes the playstyle and win condition of your group. And I think maybe it needs to be like Fen or Falling or someone to announce to the group, like, right, okay, we're swapping to Cass. We need to shut down this hazard. That is our number one priority every day of the week. That kind of thing.
Yeah, good point.
Do I have any other points on this map? No, it looks like we're on to the next one now. So yeah, unfortunately you lose this one. I think you do flip it at some point, but like the ult economy is just completely in their favor. It's okay. We go again. Second point. This is very juicy, and I like to think that this might help with a lot. I'd like you to watch this team fight and tell me if you see anything wrong. So I've got 2 points I want to make here. I'll give you a brownie point if you can guess either of them. Has anyone got any ideas?
I was gonna say it was taking us quite a long time for us to actually get up to stairs, and also I understand he's going up to high ground to secure high ground, but if we all just went in on stairs together and then go through, I feel like we wouldn't have gotten caught out as hard. Because my main problem, at least there, was just the fact that we just got walled off immediately, and also Hazard was playing bot.
Yeah, I mean,
So
even if we like walk up as 5, he still walls it.
yeah,
I think the walls are a constant thing. Like we just got split, and then did we 5-4 with less numbers? Because I know
Did
Juno
we
was
what? Sorry?
there, but I don't know how many people went to clear our backline versus theirs. Because I
We can
think
replay it back.
all it was just Juno and Cass against 3 of us. So they just always lose that fight.
I remember this fight. I got flashed off the map.
So
Impressive.
necessarily, the want to control the high ground is a really smart choice here, especially because you're now playing dive into dive yourselves, like a hybrid dive into hybrid dive kind of angle. It's not the worst shout comp wise. I'm here for it. There's a few things I wanted to note though. I don't like criticizing like micro play too much because I have my wheelhouse and I'd like to stay very much in it for the most part. Otherwise, I'd sound like I'm talking out my ass, right? However, Sway, since we were planning on doing a VOD review with you personally at one point, I would like to bring to your attention just how much poke you take before you even think about diving here. you're half by the time you hit the ground on that high ground, right? And like, it's really not the end of the world. That's part of what tanks are meant to do. They're meant to soak a lot of that damage. They're meant to be big bullet sponges, etc. But that you are already half as a monkey by the time you jump that high ground is dangerous, especially against that comp, right? And it's the kind of thing that I was talking about previously about you trusting in Arwen and the team in general and effectively blind diving stuff sometimes, especially when you know that they have a lot of poke, which they kind of do. Kiri, Juno, Cass poking from the backline and then a Tracer feathering your ass out too. There's a lot going on there, a lot that can melt you very quickly, and you want to be as healthy as you possibly can by the time you hard engage, right? So bear that in mind for me if you can. The other thing I'd like to cast our minds to is that at this point in the fight, Sway has engaged. This is a monkey that has engaged. Would anyone like to guess at where his flex DPS is at this moment in time?
I was clearing out Mega.
I'll give you a hint.
I'm all the way behind.
Yeah. And so this is
on university as well. Is I hate running down 5 when we're running a tracer comp because I feel like I give up way too much space if I don't go and like even if it's just going through here. I don't like the idea that I don't go through here and then they could just sit here and get a sick angle onto where we're trying to fight.
Yeah, 100%. I get your reasoning as to why you want to go coast, and I'm only taking the piss. Like I'm not trying to flame you or anything like that. What I'm trying to show here and stress is that I'd mentioned this quite a few times. I'm fairly sure I've said this multiple times in scrims. I think I've said it in the tourney as well. Wait for Arwen to set up. Please wait for Arwen to set up. Like, be patient if he needs to go. However, there is another side to that coin, right? Where like Arwen, you roll out from main. No, you don't. Sorry, you roll out down here all the way around and go to their halls to meet them, which isn't the end of the world. However, by the time your team should have scouted the enemy team, I'd like us to clock where Arwen is. So they reach halls now. Sway will have seen them. Imagine you had good scouting. Arwen is here, right? If you had communicated fast enough, they are all in halls, they're pushing high. As soon as you saw them there, Arwen could have crossed this distance immediately and been here to dive their backline with you. Much, much faster than he was, because there was no communication as to where they actually were. Arwen's tactic to flush out the mega and check coast to rotate round to halls is not a bad one, but he had no information otherwise to show him that that was a bad idea at the time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like scouting is imperative when you're going with a comp like this, because when you're going for like the Tracer monkey dive, especially with the way that Arwen tends to play it too, he's much burstier than some other Tracers play. Like if you watch where their Tracer's coming from, she just rolls out into halls, for example, right? She's fighting your fucking monkey. She's playing point. She's with her Has. She's playing almost like a Genji, if that makes any sense, right? Almost always in view, peppering the enemy constantly, just fucking around and finding out, so to speak. Whereas Arwen plays things usually on Venture, on Tracer, even on Genji to a certain extent, a little bit stealthier. He goes for more assassination plays. He goes for harder flanks, shit like that. It's not necessarily a bad idea, but as a team, you need to be aware of that. And especially you, Sway, as the person who is diving with him, you need to understand that that if he continues to do that playstyle, you cannot engage as fast as you normally do. Or you need to ask Arwen to take a shorter flank, a softer flank, in order to meet you when you need him, right? It's communication either way. Either Arwen asking you to slow down, or you asking him to get the foot closer because you need to engage like 10 seconds earlier than he goes for it. Because unfortunately, in this fight, Arwen only manages to meet them as the fight is already lost. Right? And that, in essence, TLDR is just a lack of communication scouting-wise to A, let Arwen know what he needs to be doing and when, and B, be communicating back and forth between Arwen and Sway as to what's going on and when. I do remember watching you guys do these ones, so I remember most of your calls roughly. And there was like a call for like what they were playing, but not necessarily where they were playing and what the plan was. And that's what I want to fix mostly about this kind of engage, right?
Mm.
Overall, about trying to push high ground, that's all good. He goes for the wall here. He fucks it up. You still manage to push out. It's just a 4v5. It's as unfortunate as that. Like I can go into the minutiae about all the other individual little things you could have done better. Like, no, fuck that. You're fighting a 4v5. Of course you're going to lose, right? Imagine trying to take this fight right now and me saying, oh, your Tracer's dead. Like, of course you're going to lose this, right? So these setups are going to come up quite a few times, and the timing dissonance between you guys as a team is going to be quite obvious in some of the maps. And this, I think, will be the biggest way that you can improve quickly and relatively easily by just coordinating that a little bit tighter. Scouting for Arwen. If he's a stealthy motherfucker and he likes going for hard flanks, communicate to him. Tell him exactly what you see and how, because you have more vision than him at that moment in time. Stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, they have high ground. They win that fight. Blah, 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 blah. There's not actually... Yeah, so we attempt to go for the dive, but we are going through halls, which is unfortunate. On the monkey dive versus the hazard dive, unfortunately, because of their kits, in halls, hazard will win every day of the week, right? He's got wall, he's got jump, he's got his little stupid deflect right click, etc., etc. He will win in close quarters against a monkey 9 times out of 10. His comp as well will win against yours simply through the tank diff, right? So I think for future practice, it could be worth just trying to go straight from main, because at the very least, then you're giving your hit scan more sightlines at that point. Because even here, like, by forcing the fight in halls, their hazard is kind of low-key fucked over his Cass and his Kiriko, because they had to drop from high just to push this with him, because he's shut off all of their sightlines, right? Whereas you can be more conscientious to your DPS and maybe try diving from main. If you're worried about the poke, you could go all the way around, maybe. You could even try coast if you wanted to. Trying to take a jump here. If you still had the Freya, this could be dirty for her, right? Going for an E up and spamming onto this high ground where the Cass and the Kiri were, etc., etc. Try and get bigger sightlines for your players, and especially on a dive comp, ideally. That being said, tuck around the corner, don't take too much poke, and then once the scouting is good enough, hopefully you'll have more faith in each other to effectively completely blind dive this high ground. Because I'm fairly sure Arwen's in a decent spot for this fight. Yeah, he goes under whilst you guys try and go through halls. Like, Arwen's in a good spot here. All it needs is the time for you guys to get a good dive off from arguably main, in my opinion, instead of trying to force through halls. And that could have been an easy win from you guys. The pressure that Arwen was putting on their supports was enough to secure you a few kills if the team had the space to pile in and help, so to speak. Yeah, and we even get a pick here. We'll skip it forward a little bit. So I don't remember exactly what the comms were at this point, but do you guys remember what made you want to swap back to Ram here?
No clue.
That's
I
all good.
remember
Just feel like it was
pressing
more.
tab and
I
seeing
think
around.
Probably maybe to like, assuming the Has will dive us, maybe we could collapse on him. Maybe. I can't remember.
That makes sense. Like, honestly, it's a pretty good shout. Trying to go like tighter, brawlier against that to try and punish them. Really not the end of the world. If you guys are desperately wanting to go through halls, it's also a better idea to get a much brawlier, more survivable tank like Ram. If you're wanting to push through halls and get that high ground control, this is exactly what you try here too. It's a good idea. It's unfortunately though returning to the same comp that you just lost on, right? And you unfortunately become victim to the exact same things that caught you out on the first one. The hazard, who's looking menacingly right now at your backline and is about to do what we all assume he's about to do, which is dive your backline as he rams trying to push and zone you out. So I'll skip this forward a little bit. Unfortunately, these fights don't succeed. Do you guys remember what you swapped to contest when it hit 99?
Well, the backline
probably.
didn't swap.
I stopped the ball.
Ba-ba-da-ba! Yeah, you did. And I'd like to show you something. That power drive here on the supports with Tracer following up with an attempted pulse was the closest to a coordinated dive that you've done this whole game. I am so glad that you guys like realized that the ball comp was working for you, because it worked a lot nicer on the other ones. And I think there's something about the power drive timing that just kind of locks you two in with each other's brains. And especially when Arrowin's on Venture, you guys seem to align much better timing wise. Not perfect just yet, but much, much better than on Monkey for some reason, which might require some unpacking to see what that dissonance in timing is. Because on Monkey, I think maybe you're a touch less patient, because on Ball, you have set up time of your own, Sway, right? Like you have to go for the hook and you have to get the right position. And I've played with you when you play Ball myself, so I know you're like, right, going for a power drive in 3, 2, 1, and I think you're a bit more communicative on that, because you need to be on Ball than you are on Monkey. And just that fraction of more coordination with the Tracer and the Ball working together is what manages to win you this over, which is amazing. Yeah, fights like these are unfortunately just a case of, I think, target focus. We had Ball on high ground here. He was like power driving all the supports. It was a massive power drive, but unfortunately, your Tracer didn't know, right? And when you've got a Surge with like 4 people diving her, she's not going to be much help either, even when ulting, unfortunately. So I think the main homework I've got for you two, Sway and Arrowin, is I need you to tighten up this synergy together, because if you two become an unstoppable force together, without having the rest of the team behind you, it will tighten up so many of these comps, because unfortunately, whether consciously or not, a lot of these comps seem to rely on you and Arrow getting shit done together, and the rest are there to kind of facilitate, which is fine, but that means that you two need to keep working on your synergy together to make sure that your timing is right.
Mhm.
But that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, there's a couple of messy fights. You give it your damnedest best shot, but that is the end of Oasis. I called this a warm-up after the fact, because I do still agree that that's what this was. No one was warm just yet. You gave it your best shot. Don't hold any hard feelings about this one. Up next is Scrim's Row, which I believe is this one. Yes, it is. Scrim's Row, I have some big feelings about, all right? And because you did so well on King's Row, I was so happy at your overtime clutch W on the 4th round of this. You did so well, and you acknowledged and you identified what was fucking you up, and you just overcame it. You switched your comp up. You started countering it, and it was beautiful. They threw a curveball in the 3rd round, if you remember, by playing the Diva.
Yeah.
And that kind of fucked people up, because she was eating stuff. She was melting people, because Diva missiles exist. And like Arrowin was getting caught out by it quite a few times. And then they had the Brig and the Anna. So even though they looked so submissive and diveable up there, it was a whip shot or a sleep on Ball multiple times, etc., etc. But you did really well in the end up, and you fought hard. I appreciate it. Right. So I'd like to talk about these setup positions, right? Does anyone have any thoughts on the setup positions? Anything they like about it? Anything they don't like about it?
Oh
No,
no, I
think
take
alright.
I'm
my
alright
angle's
sitting
really
there.
bad. My angle's really bad because I take immense amount of poke and I just die for it.
No, I think this one the issue you had is you go to scout what they have immediately and you like swing around statue and then they just shred you because they can't see anyone else. So it's like only you. Like I don't know. I think the starting positions are good.
Yeah,
Meta,
for me, the only problem was that whenever I picked to heal Sway, I got damaged a lot, and Sway actually dies in like 5 seconds for that. Because you can see me peek to heal him and fucking fall over, even though I'm up there in the height.
Okay, well, we'll
Yeah,
play the
they're very
first
good
fight
at it,
then.
but-
Falling's onto something. We'll play the first fight and we'll see how this goes, okay?
Best support. Team.
All right, so again, it's pretty fast. Sway just gets deleted. It's becoming a pattern, but that's okay because that means that we can fix patterns. Because if there's patterns, then that means if you fix one, you fix all of them, and that is beautiful. And that is one weak spot in your team completely gone immediately. So let's wind it back a little bit. Let's talk about again map geometry and hero kits. Right? What is the strongest thing about Kiriko?
no fall off damage.
No fall off
She's like
damage.
120 from the kunai, and then she can just fuck off to wherever else she needs to be on like an
Okay,
8-second cooldown.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
She can
you
off angle
could
a lot.
you could
'Cause she can
swap
TP to her.
the Kiri and the Lucio here. Have Lucio stack with Soj and then Kiri play down.
My thought for being down there is like I want to be able to enable my Venture Ram for when they engage.
I'm just gonna sit in hotel because the idea
Yeah,
is
but
they're
eventually
meant to have to
they either
force
walk.
through.
Yeah, either they walk there or they don't, and then I'll be able to enable you and Ram because you're going to be playing close together now.
Yeah, I've got nothing
Yeah.
against the Lucio down here. I think it's a smart choice, especially if you have your flex support holding up here. You need someone on the ground helping out. It's not a trick question. Arwen was bang on the money. She does a lot of damage with no fall off, and she's survivable as fuck, especially with her major perk on her Swift Step. She is in and out in a fucking flash, and she's very hard to kill in good hands, like Fallings, right? So, is her being up here truly necessary?
No.
Ideally
She
not,
could be
right? Because this position
TP
is
to her.
perfect for Soj. I'm here for Soj being up here. She can slide along here. They end up going like round statue as well. She can spam them out as they're trying to push point. Straight away back to here safely. If she really runs into trouble, she can go back there to the back window and retreat towards her healers. Soj being there also means that Kiriko can quite safely play hotel with the rest of you, be much closer range, because another thing that I really wanted to stress hero kit wise is her healing is projectile, her Suzu is projectile, and she has a TP to safety. I get that they were rushing you a lot, but with that kit, there is little reason why you would want her to start so far away when she has so many defensives to allow herself to live, right?
Yeah,
So,
I could like TP to Fox if he's in danger.
yeah, perfectly. Like you can TP up to Soj, you're immediately in safety. Tuck around this corner, no one's gonna fucking touch you, right? Especially with the comp that they're running. So, and Sway also dies the frame before her Suzu hits the ground too, because Kiriko is like not meant to be that far away, right? She can be. I'm not saying that she's not allowed to play back. Of course she is, but
I
like
think it was also a ping diff though. I remember.
could be a ping diff. Could be a ping diff.
I remember she was saying, oh, she Suzu's, but her ping just doesn't allow it to work.
Yeah, that
I mean,
happened a
maybe,
couple
but
of times, lol. But
I
that was
think
just like the projectile traveling time.
even across this map, I think Sway, you have to be comfortable with using form just defensively. Because
Yeah.
you die with form here, you
Very
form
true.
a lot, and then you'll just punch and not block. But it's on like an
Yeah.
8-second cooldown.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely a factor. There are things that Sway can do to survive more. But unfortunately, as someone who likes kind of talking about the macro
Touching
stuff more
things.
often, I think that also comes down to communication. Sway needs to understand ahead of time that all he has is a Lucio and a fucking Venture miles away right now. And he has his Kiriko staying safe up on high ground, and he's not going to get the support he normally needs. Therefore, I like to think he would use Nemesis if he realized that the team wasn't necessarily right behind him, ready to bail him out at the first notice. That being said, I like these positions. Sorry, you go.
No, I just think it's unnecessary poke. I scouted it out, but it's not needed.
Yeah, that's definitely true. You
Yeah.
do take a lot of poke. That is a running theme. I really want that to be a takeaway you take from this VOD review, Sway. You take a lot of poke very often. Even when we're playing comp together and stuff, a lot of my time is spent bailing you out because you take poke at unnecessary times, unfortunately. But that level of aggression also wins you things as well. So I don't want to turn you into a big old puss, but I also want you to understand when you can be conservative. And the thing that makes Ramatra so strong is by not only turning the tides with his nemesis and punching the dick off of anyone who's close enough, but also popping his nemesis, crossing those big burly arms, and nothing can fucking touch him, whilst his Kiriko and his Lucio top him up again, right? So Arwen is very right in that there are times in which I need you to play more defensively than you are, and you do get caught out quite a few times, especially on this King's Row. That I want you to be mindful of going forward. Do not be afraid to be more defensive. It is just the press of a button. If you realize that you're actually now 75% health, there's a Venture right next to you and a Lucio amping you in, you drop those arms, you start punching bitches again, right? But play a little bit more defensively if you feel yourself getting poked out very often. Anyway, that being said, I really like these starting positions. I think they're really good. There's just a minor change I would personally recommend. And again, this is just my personal opinion, and you don't have to, but on a map like this, that is defense, that has high ground, and that has minimal chokes that the enemy has to go through, and you want a flex support on high ground with range and the ability to turn a fight against the enemy as they push you, what would be a good support up there with that surge?
Oh, the Baptiste himself. In my eyes. My favorite
Would
support.
It'd just be Anna. No, I feel like Anna's just really good.
100%.
But then
I know I'm going to
prefer
sound like
Baptiste.
I'm talking out my ass because all you fucking know me as an Anna OTB, and you're welcome to think I'm biased, but Anna would go fucking hard here. Very hard. Baptiste would work just fine as well. But even then, I think I'd want Baptiste to play Hotel if you're playing Bap anyway, because he can always jump up to Surge if he really wants to, or jump up to the window here if he really has to, but then he's close enough for a lamp. But an Anna against this, there are so many cases in these fights. I was watching these VODs back with one of my old teammates today to brush up on the notes that I had, and they were like, that Has could have used an Anna, because an anti against him too would have absolutely melted his ass with a lot of the comps you were running and stuff like that. It's not mandatory. If you really don't want to, please don't do it. But I would highly recommend in some of these scrims you start practicing some more Anna comps, because they would genuinely shut down some of the things that you are failing to counter a lot more. Your Jib went really well when Fen was on the Anna and Falling was on the Mercy. Obviously, that's not the kind of comp I want you to be playing all the time, and I assume you guys don't want to be playing that all the time too. But like, from what I saw, the only times you really play like an Anna Brig or something like that is on Jib. But like, I think you could afford to opt for slightly more offensive choices on your support lineup than Kiriko and Lucio every time, because they could go hard, especially in a tournament where that kind of punishment could be the difference between you winning and losing a fight, right?
See, that's a good point, because I'm a bit of a Kiri OTP, so I don't like see where Anna would go hard, but you as an Anna main know that, oh my god, Anna would be so good here. Yeah, I like forget to consider Anna, even though I can play her. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, in a tournament, you want to play to your strengths. I know that Kiriko
Yeah.
Lucio is your strongest lineup for your supports, and I'm happy for you guys to keep it that way. But especially in scrims when you're meant to be practicing stuff, there are a lot of maps. Like on the negative side, Anna is very vulnerable, and she does not have much for her team in way of defensives. Nothing like a Suzu, right? So in terms of like sheer death-defying capabilities. Anna ain't it. However, what she's very, very strong at is taking a fight that looks like it might be lost. They're pushing into your ram as they do regularly. They're forcing into your backline as they do regularly. And anti-nade and asleep can make the difference. And you see that with Fen actually on Gibraltar. They are diving him consistently, and he's still able to survive long enough to get support with the kit that he has, because that's what can
Low-key
make
on
her
Jib,
strong.
they actually didn't touch me. They didn't walk near me. I don't know why they didn't do that, but
They did dive you a
suppose.
few times, but by the time they did, you had a whole team behind you to help support it.
I
So
just
yeah,
pressed the S
that
key
was a
and I
fuck
live.
up on their part. Don't get me wrong. But that's the good thing about trying something like that, right? You can try a Zen in some of your comps. You can try an Anna, and if you're getting hard dived, you swap off. Kiriko's ridiculously versatile, which is why I'm not surprised that you play her so often. But she could also be your backup to try some other comps sometimes, right? Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting and raving about the granny. I would recommend you try her at some point, but those are my thoughts on that. Especially against the Hazard later on, at least. Anti is one of the things that is the worst for Hazard. Unlike pretty much anything else, because like Suzu, Imo, all of that shit, that's just trying to survive what he's giving to you. That's not necessarily trying to help offensively, right? A Discord Orb, an anti-nade, those are the kind of things working in your favor to try and counter them, right? Yeah. This fight's over real quick. That's okay. We'll skip it forward a little bit. So I do remember as they start to round this corner here, I was in voice with you, and I nudged you guys to notice that they did not have speed. They were running Kiriko Baptiste at this point. And a lot of these fights are you guys just amping on them and then being able to do nothing about it. And I liked that ability for you guys to adapt so quickly. It was really cool to watch. It was this fight here where you just literally just amp on them and roll their asses. This is where we start to notice the problem that starts to occur here, right? They intelligently enough start to realize quite quickly that Arwen diving in with his dig is usually the instigator to you guys pushing as a group. And the Ram starts to get into the habit of vortexing every single time that Arwen digs. And that's why you guys end up trying for the dive comp afterwards. Because this just becomes a pattern, unfortunately. Every time Arwen tries to dive, he's alone in the engage, so to speak, and just gets vortexed and fucked for it. That wasn't necessary, was it?
Oh yeah, there was just the miscommunication. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm only taking the piss. I'm fairly sure.
Not even that bad. 4 for 4.
Yeah,
True.
I'm fairly sure it's literally only. Yeah, it's just you three alive. I'm fairly sure both Fen and Arwen die in that fight, and Sway ults purely to keep himself up. So I understand that there is panic in the chat. You're not dead?
No, I'm on the stairs.
Oh, that's you. Sorry, little bro. I'm sorry. So both your DPS are dead. That's worse somehow.
Yeah. It's we lose our hit scan, which means we have no poke.
Yeah, 100%.
No pressure. They can just walk into us and not be scared.
Yeah, and they're just pressing W on you. So I think you're both desperately trying to keep Sway up whilst also desperately trying to stay alive. And they blizzard you and they ram you, and it's all very stressful.
Now, low-key, I like how Sway plays this. He goes around the corner,
he plays it really
frozen,
smart.
But they don't want to swing him for some reason. He's just got aura.
Now,
like, trolling weak from
luckily,
that BAP.
yes, you did go 4 for 4, but that BAP is trolling, right?
Yeah. I get
And
it.
if I was that Kiriko, I wouldn't have ulted that either, to be perfectly honest, because they'd already committed 2 ults to that fight by that point, and it was already looking like you weren't going down anytime soon. If they'd have ult tracked correctly, they'd have known just how much shit you had at that time. It was a bold move to try and go for the rush there. Another thing that I do remember as well, and this will come up later in this round specifically, is that I vividly remember Arwen saying that he is going to venture ult every single Kiriko rush, right?
Yeah.
Which should have made it clear to you guys that at least one ult was about to be used the second she pops that rush. Therefore, the ult tracking and the ult planning wasn't ideal there, but just try and keep it in your mind to not over ult like this too much. I won't lawyer on that too much though, it fucking happens. Team kill! We use 17 ults, let's go boys! So we've got what is basically going to be a dry fight here. We only have clock on either team.
This ends now.
So I'm not sure necessarily how to word this, but I hope that you guys kind of know what I'm talking about. There's quite a few situations, in a lot of these maps where Fox gets caught out and he will either run away from his team or take the duel when it would be safer still to run to his team, if that makes sense, right? You clock here and end up in Mega Room and attempt to take the fight with the Kiri when it could have been smarter to just try and leave the room. I don't know if you had slide though, so it might be spicy.
No, I went for it because I knew they were freaking so low. I knew I couldn't.
Mm.
Like if you look at the Kiri.
Yeah, she is one. I get it.
Absolute.
Yeah,
In
and like
melee.
as a DPS, you have to take those duels. You have to take those chances. Otherwise, you'll just be a pussy and you'll never get anything done. So I'm not gonna try and like
Yeah,
punish you or
I
anything
was
for
confident
shit
that I
like that.
could win, but I didn't because I didn't have mouse pad space. I literally
It's
didn't have mouse pad
okay.
space.
It's all good. It's honestly not the end of the world. Just watch for this because I think I'll bring it up a few more times as we watch these VODs, but there's quite a few times where you'll get caught out on your own and your instinct seems to be to move further from your team, which might be causing you more harm than good.
Maybe here, generally speaking, I like to just slide towards my team because if normally I'm off angling and then if I do get jumped, I'd slide towards my team.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm just too much of a crackhead here. You did tell me to play like a crackhead.
That is true.
Dodge this.
Oh, we do hold this though, I think.
This ends now.
That's a perfect
Yeah, I just
example, by the way, Sway, of you crossing those damn arms, right? That Surge was ulting in your face, and the Nemesis was the perfect choice there, but you punched the whole time. Too far back.
This ends now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just block.
But it's all good. I like Ram in Nemesis going for a few punches to scare them away, so to speak, but then it's a hard block angle for me at least. But yeah, unfortunately they take this point. We move on to third. Good choice to try and take the corner here. This is a good place to fight. You've got your Venture in a really good spot here. And this is another thing I want us to be more wary of. I wanted to say this to his face, and I will at some point when he comes back, but Arwen plays dive on every hero he plays. Every single hero. It doesn't matter if he's playing Echo, Venture, Tracer. He plays like a hard dive on every single one of them. and I might be trying to nudge him towards the idea of having alternate play styles that he can work with should that strategy not work, because it's not ideal to only really have one way of playing whatever you're playing. But that does also have the benefit, though, of making a lot of opportunities for you guys that I need you to take with both hands if you see them. So Arwen pushes for the flank angle here on the right as they round the corner. But unfortunately, he goes in with very little support and dies for his sins. I think Sway does try and commit here to push in, but it's just too late. Yeah.
Well, my lane isn't in the right spot.
This happens on the New Jug City that you did the day before, against VA Unity, where like I love that you guys are being proactive, which is why I don't want to talk down on it too much. I really, really like the spirit of it, but the timing sometimes is a touch off, especially when they have the ability to back out so easily, right? So they were only at the corner here when you went for the rush, which meant that they could easily just back up on you.
Yeah, I should have put it in the corner at least. Lol.
Luckily, you get a pick though, so not all is lost. But unfortunately, the Ramel is completely wasted. They're too far back.
It was like pretty beautiful how fast the enemy fell back. I don't know, that was just kind of satisfying.
Yeah, it was impressive. Right, so you've got Venture here again. And that is another occasion where I do remember Arwen saying he was going to go for the ult there and try and push in. He goes too aggressive, and that is on him. Whoa, look at this.
I'm a
but,
frog.
but that might be an opportunity to full commit, right? You know how sometimes when a Mauga cages, if you have 5 people and you have the ults to do so, you fully commit on that cage and you melt his ass. This is a similar situation. Yes, they're ulting. Yes, it's risky, but it's arguably your best bet if you have a Venture getting in there with an ult at the time, right? Have I got any other notes on this one? Oh yeah, the other thing was just ult tracking. I don't think the Mei ults were tracked very often, and it does look like you get caught out by these quite often. You go ball, you do an absolute poggers defense of this, and you do manage to hold them on this attack. It's really beautifully played by all of you. Arwen boops this ram off like 4 times, and Sway is an absolute nuisance. And the target calling, amusingly enough, this happens with literally every team. Even if the target calling is suffering dearly in the actual fights, for some reason, as soon as it hits OT or shit starts hitting the fan, the target calling just comes out of the bag. And there was a lot of target calling here, I remember it, and that's probably a big reason as to why you were succeeding so much. But yeah, you win these. We'll switch to the first attack for you guys. So we're rolling out on the ball here. We've decided to keep the ball and try and go for a Venture ball dive on their backline. So both ball and Venture are trying to get into position. This is all good. Ball's going for a bit of poke. We've already baited Lamp, already baited Suzu, and the Bap's dead. This is perfect for us so far. Beautifully done. Hands down.
I liked our positionings. Everyone was like in the right spot, right
Yeah.
time.
It's unfortunate that we're int, so we lose the fight still.
It's okay. It's just unfortunate that, like, against that comp, they excel in punishing. Right, that's their whole deal. They want to punish someone who's overextending and already low, or something like that. So yeah, just a touch safer playing there, and you would have won that in a clean sweep. But it's fine. So we go for the same thing. They're all holding on low ground, so submissive and diveable. We're getting all the high ground control. This is beautiful. Oh, Kiriko
Oh my god! Listen,
is...
I got flashed. The whole call was for me to TP to them. Yeah, I got flashed out of my TP while I was casting.
It's okay. It's honestly fine. I'm only teasing. But yeah, once this happens, it's a case of get out now and wait to regroup as 5. And I think you stagger yourselves a bit too much here. These fights are the worst. You would genuinely think that the fights where you're just dying over and over again are the worst, but honestly, they're not. The fights that are genuinely the worst are the ones where you get 1 or 2 picks, because it breeds this mentality of like, oh, just get in there and we might be able to capitalize on that person still coming back from spawn. And it can unfortunately lead to a lot of staggered gameplay. So one thing I really want to stress to you guys is if you get a couple of picks, yes, you want to capitalize, but please, please, please make sure you group up as 5 and you're still working as a coordinated group as you try and capitalize on that. Beautifully played again. Perfectly timed dig and power drive. The whole team is there to collapse. Everybody's in the right position. Really well done. Fuck the payload. We're pushing up for staggers. This is all good. This is all good. We'll skip to the next fight. Foxy's cheekying on point. Double rush.
Holy crap.
Everybody's rush. Yeah, I need to tell Owen to be careful of that because a good ram will always do that to a venture. It's one of the best ways to shut them down. And he needs to be conscious of digging within range of that ram, especially if he knows they has Vortex. That might be down to group communication as well to make sure that you're communicating his cooldowns enough. It's like a hog hook if you're playing monkey or something, right? You know how it's always muscle memory for everyone to be like, no hook the second he uses it? If you're playing with a venture and you're playing against a good ram who's trying to Vortex him constantly, no Vortex is the call to go. Swear hates nooning Cassidy's. Yeah, this fight goes pretty well. You're just outplaying them at this point. Your comp is way better than theirs. You're catching them unawares constantly. This is really beautifully done. Really good attack from you guys.
Oh, rest in peace.
So this is when we get to the third and fourth round, and this is when things get a bit spicy. I don't have too many notes on their attack, I don't think.
Yippee. I found the script.
Yay.
Yay. I'm scrim for later. That's 7. I need to send a mine.
So I remember us talking about it, but the whole goal of the ball and the venture together was hopefully that ball could bait out the cooldowns on the venture's behalf so that hopefully you can get Vortex and stuff like that out early. So sometimes, Sway, it might be a good idea to actually stay and be a bit of a bullet sponge for a little bit longer to try and get those cooldowns out of them. Be a pest to try and bait them for the venture, because I don't think you managed to get anything out of them here. And I think Arwen dies for it because they use them all on his instead. Yeah, they use both the Vortex and the Suzu for venture instead of ball. They give no fucks about ball. But you do tighten that up for the attack, which is nice. Really beautifully done there, by the way. I know you had to give them 2 ticks, but it was the right decision because you wanted to wait for Venture to get back and then you full engage. This was beautifully done, guys. You should be proud of yourselves. This is amazing. Now we go to the attack. I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, screaming and shouting and kicking my feet at this attack. This was so rough. They threw the Diva at you, which was a bit of a curveball. They have gone very heavily counter dive with the Brig, Anna, and the Cass and the May, all holding up here. Very diveable, but very dangerous at the same time. But you give it a really valiant effort. The only thing I would say about these dives is it might be worth troubleshooting better ways to pass up there. If they are all holding back here, you know that the only really sight lines that they have are these ones and maybe these ones if they dare venture out. But honestly, if they push here, they're as good as dead. And I think they know that, which is why they're holding that back high ground so much. So it could be worth getting, like Tracer comes up here at first, but you could get Venture to come up here as well to save having to use Dig just to get onto the high ground to begin with. Because Dig's no, not the kind of damage you want to be throwing away necessarily. And if a Venture could just use their right click to come across here and then go for the dig on them, that could be much more productive for getting the damage off that you need to actually kill them. I remember the comms at this point being like, they're behind us, what the hell? And then you like tried to collapse and kill them, but unfortunately your comp is just not that kind of comp in the slightest. You don't really collapse, you dive, so they will win in a close quarters fight like that every day of the week. So the last thing I want to show is this last fight, I think. So it's a tricky 3 minutes. There's a lot of dives that unfortunately get cooldowned out of existence. They've got sleep, they've got bash, they've got whip. But what was really useful here is the exact same thing happened here as happened at the end of your defense, where immediately as shit starts hitting the fan, and I feel everybody's cortisol levels spike, you immediately start screaming targets at each other. Diva's one, Diva, she's got no armor! Like, everyone's in there and working on the same target, and that is literally the only reason you win this. The last 3 minutes were spent attempting something, but not actually following it through with the targets that you need to be focusing at the right time. But because shit is hitting the fan, you push through and you manage to win this last fight. And I honestly think, like, if you manage to make it as though... I guess that's in a way what I mean by joking, like, you guys need to play like you're on crack. Like, you need to be making those target calls as if it's always overtime. As if it's always the last clutch fight before OT, and you're going to lose. And that will honestly be the biggest difference. Yeah, you win this. I'm sorry I can't delay too long on your victories, but you did great. Next one is Jib. Oh, I wanted to show you Jib, actually.
Oh, that was such a... I hated this. Gib made me so sad.
What is that?
Did so well on Diva. did so well on defense, and we probably all thought of, oh yeah, we're just gonna win this easy. We just don't. It's as if like the whole mindset
No,
just
this isn't that
flipped.
one. This isn't that one.
I swear it is.
No, and the other one there was Brick Band.
Yeah, that was against the
it?
team on Friday that you.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, is this one? Oh yeah, this is the
Oh,
one
no.
against
It's
the team
this
on Friday.
one.
Yeah. No, this ain't the right one. Hold up. All these jibs look the same to me. It's not this jib. Which jib is it then?
Where's the codes?
Let me grab
Replay
it.
codes.
It's not.
Wait, we didn't get the new set of
Bitch!
codes.
What is
Wait,
it?
we don't have the codes for the
G7.
last.
G7.
Do we not? I think we do. Let's see.
No, we have for VA and for the first and for Echo, but we don't have against the last team we went up against. At least in replay codes.
Okay. Well, I think I can find those from Faceit.
Yeah.
Oh, G7. No, it should be this one.
Hmm.
Oh no, it's not this one. I'm a liar. There we go. Okay, we got it now. Sorry,
No
boys.
fraud.
Give me 1 second.
And I got the replay.
That's alright.
codes.
I might have to dip anyways because freaking Shinima is apparently juiced with caffeine and wants to have some rounds before I scream. I'll be here for the first little bit. Oh, there you go. Rex Ignis.
Yeah, so the defense actually works really well. You do the Mercy Freya and they can't really do much against it. It's the attack that I wanted to cover. You do the fucking... you do the hog hook TP and then Sway walks inside the room and can't be Life Weaver gripped back, which I found hilarious. And luckily you guys
I
were
don't
giggling about
know.
it too. So it's all good. We shake it off and we move on. They are
I
running
almost
the
pulled that
hazard.
off in the scrim immediately after this, by the way.
They immediately run the hazard, but you are running Anna Mercy again, which isn't necessarily the end of the world, but I do think one of the things that could have helped this comp a lot is switching that up when you noticed that it wasn't working. It was so unfortunate that you got full held on this one, but there wasn't the communication there of like, this ain't working, what do we want to play instead kind of thing. I think we do switch off the Freya at one point, but there's still like none of that communication of like, okay, well, what are we trying to achieve? And the main goal, from my perspective personally, is shutting the shit down on this hazard. And you have it. You have it right here. You have it here, and you have it on this little bitch here. But what you'll see in the attack is that a lot of it depends on the Anna's positioning and the coordination between the team. Because those two combined are the difference between you winning and losing. So, for example, which is it? Yeah, so you take a couple of fights and you do manage to get that payload close. But quite frequently, we have a situation like this happening, where, like this. So I'm sure you guys will have heard of it before because it's talked about very often, but you guys are aware of like the triangle that you should always aim for in most team compositions, right? Effectively, it's that you want this kind of situation going on, right? And most teams do it instinctively. So you'll have your tank usually at the front, and then you want one DPS off angling here and one DPS off angling here. And then your supports can be somewhere in the middle or maybe positioned with one of the DPS at either side, right? And that means that each individual off angle has a slightly different sightline on the enemy, and your tank should be taking most of the damage from them and taking all of their attention, so to speak, right? And in a situation like this, Jib is perfect for practicing that because you've got this high ground here, you've got this high ground here, and then you've got this high ground here for defense. Boom, triangle, right? So usually in a Jib game, you'll have like your monkey and so here, you'll have your Anna Brig back here, and then you'll have your Tracer or your Freya or whatever over here, your Soj maybe. And then on attack, you've got Wait, let me move the camera a little bit. So you've got an attack, you've got this angle, which is this high ground here, this high ground over here if they give you it, and this high ground here too. And you do not use this one enough, in my opinion, especially for your Anna or your Freya. I'm fairly sure on the Jib you played against VA, they had a Freya poking here quite regularly. Because if you take these kinds of angles, again, you've got your triangle here. And if their enemy is on the high ground there, you've got a lot of different routes and vantages of line of sight to hit them. That make sense?
Yeah.
So what unfortunately happens a lot with the team as you guys are attacking here is you're taking the same angles repeatedly. So you'll have your monkey here, but you'll have your Freya also peeking just above his head, or you'll have your Anna on the low ground here. Fen spends a lot of the game down here and sometimes trying to force this high ground here, but this is too close for her sight lines, unfortunately. And if the enemy team is holding on this high ground here, you ideally want her here, or at the very least back here, right? Because these kinds of angles allow for some nanomonkey fat nade shenanigans going on, and they also allow for a lot of pressure with the Anna and monkey combined for the Freya to be here poking at them from this angle as the monkey's distracting them from where Sway is in this freeze frame here, right? The phrase we used to use all the time back in the day when it was like Widow, Hanzo, poke comps was crossfire, right? And we'd always be saying that over and over again so that our DPS were never accidentally taking the same sight lines. You always wanted Hanzo on one side and Widow on the other side on a Havana or a Junkertown or whatever, crossfire constantly. So that if the person that the Widow's shooting at tucks around a corner, the Hanzo might have eyes on that corner and be able to finish the kill, etc., etc. And you want the same thing in almost every comp. Dives too, poke comps especially. Brawl is where it's a little bit fuzzy. You don't necessarily want to take too many off angles because you're moving as a unit, or rather you should be. But especially in the case of a dive on a map like Jib, get those crossfire angles going as much as you possibly can. Like, this is pretty decent. The only change I'd make is get this Anna over here, and that positioning was perfect. Because what makes that situation more difficult is with the sheer movement and speed of a hero like Hazard. If the Anna tries to push this high ground here, she's a sitting duck. And the best strategy with this comp against what they're doing right now, if you want to win purely with a playstyle change, is keeping the Anna and the Freya as far from the Freya as possible while still poking as much as humanly possible. And then the Tracer and the Monkey actually in the fray, being the ones that are taking the hits and causing all the chaos to allow for the other three to do their work. That's why we call it hybrid, right? Because in a lot of ways, even though your comp looks like a full dive, it's not in a lot of ways, because you're going to usually have the Freya, the Mercy, and the Anna further back, and the Monkey and the Tracer further in. Very similar to your Surge Tracer comps, right? Where you want a 3-2 split, and you want the two to be causing the chaos, causing all the problems, and you want the other three to be giving that supportive fire and actually finishing off the kills. What was the last thing? Oh yeah, the biggest thing about this has here, and unfortunately, like I won't go through the whole VOD because I don't want to take up too much of all your guys' time. But the main thing with Hazard is that he is the epitome of punishing uncoordination, because he has a ridiculous amount of sustain and a lot of punishing capabilities of his own. So if you dilly-dally too much and you don't burst him down with a coordinated push, he's just alive forever. And I'm fairly sure he goes quite far into this run without dying a single time. So yeah, it's just another case of team coordination, targets, stuff like that. Fen starts getting real aggressive with it, which I do admire. I appreciate the balls. And the sleep attempts and anti-attempts on the has to try and keep him in check are from coming from the right place. All it needs is a call. Tell you what I was considering doing, Sway. I was talking to my old teammate about this earlier. I was strongly considering showing the Dorado VOD from yesterday that you and I did in comp, and how something as simple as a 3-2-1 between two players and a well-timed jump can make all the difference. And imagine that now with 5 players instead, and all 5 know that you're about to converge on the same place in 3-2-1. I know it sounds like I'm being fucking patronizing. I know you guys know how a coordinated dive works, but there wasn't much of that going on at all here. And I think you guys get a little bit lost in the sauce in these monkey comps. And I really want a return to basics and a return to form of a 3-2-1 dive every single time, right?
Okay, I'm gonna go now. But
Right.
thank you for the VOD. And wish me luck that my brain doesn't melt as I have
Have
to play tech
fun.
now.
Don't melt your brain.
Okay, bye bye.
All right. We'll do Esperanza next. There's literally one fight that I want to show in Esperanza, which is funny. Because it unfortunately explains out how Esperanza worked for you guys, sorry, or lack thereof. You can see the confusion in targets happen in real time on this map. Where is it? I respect you guys rolling out on this comp. It was a really valiant effort. Right, so at this point, they're pushing the bot. You've lost the first fight. Sway is on the ball. He's going for a power drive. He's obviously going to be attempting to dive with Arwen. And the rest of you are going to be hopefully either pushing up these stairs or getting to the high ground to join together. And I want you to watch as you push what targets it looks like you're all looking at any given time. So in that moment,
I could count like 3 people: Diva, Cass, and the Juno.
yeah. So we killed the brig, perfect. Fen is with Sway and Arwen with this, and he's giving the supportive fire. He's being an annoying little pest on Moira. He's doing his job perfectly, exactly as I told him to. And the first power drive fails, but it's fine. You get back up, you give your supportive fire. The brig dies. This is looking like it's a good W. Sway goes for another power drive on the Cass. Sway is on the Cass. Arwen immediately dashes away and tries to kill the Juno instead. So we've got Sway on the Cass, we've got Arwen on the Juno. There is a Diva in the backline. Falling is on the Diva. And then Tracer eventually, Fox on Tracer, comes to join and try and fight the Diva as well. But that all in all is you guys split across 3 different targets in the same dive. And that's one of the best examples I can give out of all these games of what that lack of target calling is causing for you guys, right? Nothing's dying other than one straight break, obviously, because you're not focusing on the same guy at any given time, right? And I know it sounds so basic, but I genuinely think like you need to do a single scrim where all you do is you don't ult track, you don't ult plan, none of that shit. You just call targets over and over and over again for 2 hours straight, and until it becomes second nature for you all, you know. But that's the Esperanza one. And the last thing I want to quickly go over is from your VA Unity games. Oh, I left the game because I decided I
no.
don't want to play anymore. And it's specifically the Lijiang Tower, because that was really valiantly fought by you guys. But it was just unfortunate that, again, what happened on Oasis happened again on Lijiang, and I think it's something that seems to occur quite regularly when you're playing King of the Hill, that you don't allow for the right amount of setup time and get punished miserably for it. Right. I don't want to run too much over the VA Unity games just because I think there was some tilt happening. I could feel it when I was watching back the VODs. And once you reach that point of tilt, there's not too much to like try and fix or coach because I don't want to hurt morale or anything. I want you to watch this attack here. So you try the sim TP. I remember I briefly talked to you guys about this yesterday. You weren't necessarily to know that they were about to roll out on the exact comp that counters the hell out of you. However, it is worth noting that this Symmetra TP comp on Night Market specifically is very well known at this point. So for future tournaments and stuff, it might be worth having a backup plan in case it doesn't work. Because ideally, if you lose the first fight on a Symmetra comp against what they had here, you swap off immediately. And you unfortunately try the sim comp quite a few times, and it needed to be swapped off immediately because every time they're just going to flank all around the sides of this building and spam the hell out of you until you fall over.
Worth mentioning, at least my last team, we played, at least on this map, we only played like ball stuff on this map. It's worth mentioning that I'm going to try to implement this on this map as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Combined with
Ball, Echo, Tracer comps
Echo.
on Li Zhang, yeah, they go so hard. And Arwen does try the Echo, but then immediately swaps off. And I think this is a very similar point to what I was talking about the rollout on that first Gardens map on Oasis. Because I think it's soon that Arwen swaps off, is it not? There he is. Okay, right. So we're pushing in, Arisa's going main. You're all pushing in together. You're going like a brawly kind of Arisa comp at this point, that's fine. You're rotating around to main. Yeah, Oh, Echo's dead! Where'd the Echo go? Oh no! So, one of the things that I was mentioning before is that like it's one of two things that needs to happen regularly with these comps, right? You either need to communicate to allow for more time for Arwen to set up for what he wants to achieve, or Arwen needs to stay closer to the group and move as a unit with you guys. I think at this point when you'd moved onto the Arisa and the Cass, it was the latter. He swaps off to Tracer immediately after this, which broke my little heart because Echo was a really good choice here. And maybe not necessarily with the comp, so I get it. But the main issue here was that Arwen decided to take this hard flank again, which you do quite regularly, Arwen. I want you to be mindful of that. You take hard flanks very regularly, and sometimes you get punished for it because the rest of your team was pushing left here. And like on Tracer, if you're here and you get into trouble and your team is pushing coast to here, you can barely even make it across this distance with 3 blinks. And that's even being bold enough to assume you have 3 blinks if you're fighting someone here, right? On Echo, you have no chance, right? And on Echo, ideally, you'll want to be playing the outside of the point on coast side, like the Pharah wants to. Take the duel with the Pharah. She's got no mercy pockets, so it's going to be fine. And like poke her out, taking that coast control away from them and pestering anyone who dares to try and roll around and boot people off, etc. Taking this fight against what they have here is just an automatic L, I think, for you on Echo, at the least. Maybe on Tracer, which I assume is why you swapped immediately back off, because I think that fits how you wanted to play this more. What else do I have? Yeah, so we can swap to the Sombra comp that you tried.
Ready. 1. Round 2. Capture the objective.
So you try the Sombra comp, which I really admire, and you give it a valiant effort. The only thing that I want to bear in mind for everybody is the fine line between going for full commit dives against a comp that is also diving, and what can accidentally turn into just all of you splintering off onto your own directions, right? Like when everyone's as mobile as they are on this comp, you have to be so locked in with what you're fucking up and when. Otherwise, things go down quite quickly. So Sombra might be Sombra because she wants to shut down the ball, but it might be a case of hacking the ball and then immediately turning to whatever target your ball is calling to actually kill. All Sombra's doing is CCing the ball enough to keep him out of the picture and allow you to focus on the real target in here. Unfortunately, I have the same thing to say here, Arwen. You're dueling the Tracer over here, which like isn't the end of the world. You're taking her out of the fight. It's a 4v4. But again, if that's happening, I need communication from the team of like, I've got the Tracer here. It's a 4v4. Go hard, right? Like push those supports. They don't have Tracer. Or supports, you don't have anything to worry about. I've got Tracer. Or something like that along those lines to like I guess the best way I can describe it is dueling the Tracer alone isn't going to get you value. It's dueling the Tracer with your team knowing that that's happening. And that's what gets you the value. Because even if you die here, you might have bought them enough time knowing that it's a 4v4 to do some work of their own. But if you die here and no one knows what's going on, then unfortunately it was just a hard off angle that you took that did not pay back.
Mm.
The objective is now active.
Skip to next fight. So yeah, ideally in a comp like this, what would you really want to be diving?
Yes, Farah. If she's used like jump jet, but it's like I think we have to either bait
It's a Lucio and
Lucio
a
and
Kiriko.
carry
Lucio and
TP,
Kiriko.
something like that,
That's one.
if we want to
We
touch
slam the
them.
Lucio and then exactly. Like we slag on the Lucio, and then like the rest is gonna either like try and hard peel, and we like win the fight from that.
Yeah, I think Lucio's a really good shout here, because if you try and burn him down, there's a chance you'll get Suzu out in the process, and maybe TP if there's enough secondary fire going on the Kiriko and scaring her off. And that means that ideally you've got the Lucio dead, the Kiri's already TP'd and used her Suzu, she's soon to follow suit, right? So ideally it would be the Lucio in this comp, but Lucio's a very elusive. So like it needs a lot of team coordination to play a ball dive into ball dive comp. It's not easy. I'm not saying that it is remotely easy. Falling, unfortunately, you do get booped off the bridge twice by this
Yeah,
Farah.
I got outplayed. Like I was serving it to her. My bad.
It's okay. The only thing I really, really want to stress is in a tournament situation, it does not matter what I've ever suggested for you guys to play. If you feel more comfortable on a different hero, ignore me. I beg of you. If you would have felt more comfortable in this comp on Kiriko, especially seeing that they are running it too, do it. Don't feel forced, because playing to your strengths is what's best in a tourney. Maybe in a scrim, you might want to try some Ana or some Moira or whatever to make sure that you're fleshing out your hero pool as much as you can, right? But in a tourney, if you were struggling on Moira because you can't go bridge because you're going to get booped off, and you can't go right because you're going to get booped around by ball, you want the mobility of Kiriko, you feel more comfortable, go for it. I'm never going to tell you off for that. It was probably the smarter choice here, to be honest. I'm not mad at the choice to go through white here. The only thing you need to be mindful of is the Farah, because if she gets a good position on you there, she could be dangerous. But luckily, you do exactly as Arwen was suggesting and getting straight on that Farah. Sway doing some risky moves, rolling around whilst pulse bombed, but that's okay. So yeah, I think in this case, it's a very similar thing that happens to a lot of dive comps. I think on that fight there, your target focus on the first person or maybe two people was perfect. You were all coordinated. You were working really well together. That's why they fell over so fast. You did amazingly. And then from then on, things got a bit spicy. You lost Fox. Maybe people start panicking. Maybe people are trying to look after themselves because they're starting to get low. The target focus goes out the window. But unfortunately, it needs to be even more paramount in that situation because they have to die. Otherwise, it's over and the fight is lost, right? Which unfortunately, it is. Fortunate boops all around on this game. But you do trade a lot. I think mechanically you were on par with these guys very much, and like the only difference was from a team coordination standpoint when they were hard focusing you. You can almost see from the replay them working together towards the same target because it's like some of you just explode sometimes, and that like Sway exploding all the time. Ram's health is nothing to shake a stick at. There's a lot of health there, but they're all focusing Ram. Partially because it's the only thing he can see, and Sway knows that he needs to fix that now. But also because they are focusing the Ram. Get this Ram down. He's got no health. He's half. Get him. Like push the Ram, push the Ram, push the Ram. And then as soon as the Ram's fallen over, the rest just follow suit. They switch on to the next target. Venture's got no dig here. Venture. And like it goes from there. It's a domino effect, right? And I want more of that from you guys. So anyway, TLDR, I genuinely think the strongest things that will help you guys tighten up your gameplay the fastest is genuinely doing some practice scrim sessions where literally the only thing you're worried about is target calling, and then we can focus on bringing the rest in over time. I admire when teams try and get all of the IGLing done at once, but sometimes it can be too much for a team. And I think you guys are seriously starting to get some synergy together now, and it might require a little bit of a backstep to basics to make sure that you've ironed out a few wrinkles that you have, because you guys seem to work really well on Brawl, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you are forced to face the same target when all of you are looking in the same direction. And if it's a hybrid dive, Arwen and Sway are usually doing their best to work together, but I really want to see if we can hone in on all of you being committed to a dive or a brawl or whatever, and all of you being committed to the same target and being able to communicate that with one another. Voting someone as the priority target caller and everyone else understanding that if they are calling a different target, but that priority guy said something, then they need to shut up and focus that target that's just been called, and they need to all converge on the same place. That being said, I also think it's the warm-up thing that I was mentioning is a big thing. I think you guys only started to warm up in your Rex Ignis game towards the end, which is unfortunate. But the other massive thing I would say is like from a team coordination standpoint, I would highly recommend you force some comps in scrims over the next couple of days or weeks or whatever that force you to collapse at the same time. And that was one of the many reasons why I was recommending Anna on King's Row, for example, right? Because there is something about having an ability like Nade, like Dig, like Pile Drive that forces everyone on your team to converge at the same time, because there is that one ability that is the linchpin that makes you all dive or push at the same time, right? I think that's part of the reason why your venture ball dives have been working so well, because those two abilities combined mean it so that you two are forced to push together. And I think you should start exploring those horizons more, start forcing yourself to play comps like that more to get yourselves in the mindset of pushing the same thing. Then you can go back to, Kiri, Lucio, Ram comps or whatever you feel most comfortable on, and you have that target focus and that pacing and that timing locked into your noggins. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. That could be a fun scrim. We play like the venture comp or like dive, and we just practice like maybe the echo calling thing where everyone just
Yeah.
keeps calling the same target, and also like saying that okay, right now Sway calls the target, and if someone's saying something else, then they need to like reconsider what
I
they
will sit
mean.
in and we can tactically mute people if they keep calling targets that the person who's been designated hasn't called or something like that.
No, that would be a
It
really
might
good
sound
drill.
silly, but I think it'll be a really good exercise because honestly,
Yes.
you guys win on mechanics alone in a lot of these. And that might be one of the things that I am noticing with your gameplay, Arwen, that I think that you can usually win that tracer duel, that Venture Duel with whoever they are playing at that given time, right? And the times where you hit a brick wall and fast is when the enemy team turns around, coordinated, and helps counter your ass. Because unfortunately, at that point, you are no longer our goated flex DPS. You are just one guy against 5, right? And it's at that point where, like, I'll see in so many fights where try and pile in to help you, but it's too late because reaction alone is not going to save you. It's proactivity that you need. And you have that proactivity in you, which is why as soon as I started listening to your comms and to you guys working as a team, I kept saying play around Arwen, because you have the right idea, but one person's right idea isn't going to work unless 5 people are pushing with it, kind of thing, right? So it might even be worth, if you dare to risk it, having a game or two in a scrim where we force Arwen to IGL for you, and he is the one planning what you do
yeah,
and
that
when.
would be so funny. Yeah.
Because he very regularly says, like multiple times in that King's Row game, he was like, I am going to venture ult every time this Kiri ults. And every single time he did. And at no point was there any follow-up to it, really, because his voice is currently one of 5 just kind of floating in the ether. And I want to see what might happen if we give that voice a bit of authority to make people follow it a bit more and see if we can do something about it. Because ult tracking is great. Falling and Fen, you guys are great at ult tracking when you're locked in and everybody's ready to go. Like, that's all good. And Sway, you do a pretty good job of ult planning too. You're usually like, right, we'll use this for this. I'll use this fight. But the biggest thing I want to tap into as a next step is that it's not just ults you use to respond to other ults, right? It's play styles. If you know that that Mei has Blizzard on King's Row and she's going to try and split your team in half when she does it, then how about you call for speed when she uses it and push on them past the Blizzard where they thought you were going to be and take the fight to their backline as she does it, or something like that. Or, for example, a call I love, and it's an example I used earlier, is Mauga Cage. The reason Cage it can be so strong sometimes is because it catches out stupidity and hesitation. Hesitation being the biggest one, because you'll have supports going, oh, that's a big scary red cage, and they won't want to step inside. But one person with authority in the group going, commit, we commit, we commit, and everybody piling in, that Mauga falls over. He's nothing against 5 players. No one is. No matter how good your mechanics are, if there's 5 heroes dunking on your ass cheeks, no one's going to live. No Hazard, no Mauga, no Venture, unfortunately, how to win. And that's the point, right? You work as a coordinated group and literally anything dies. So, I know that sounds very vague as a closing statement, but I like to think I gave some more precise examples earlier on. But genuinely, like, some exercises of pure echo calling, like Falling was saying, or making Arwen IGL. Not ult tracking or anything like that. I'm not going to force too much on your shoulders, but I would recommend making Arwen being the one to plan what we do for that fight. Might be interesting, because he has some good ideas, but I think his voice is getting lost in the sauce. And that's fine. Like, you're a DPS. You weren't meant to be responsible for any plans, but you've got good ones. So I want the team to start running with it a little bit more. And seeing if that helps, because I think if the team fully committed on any of your guys' great ideas, it would work. Fen very often asks for aggressive beats. Falling, your positioning of your rushes might not be ideal, like we saw on King's Row, but your timing's getting perfect. And, like, I'm not saying that any one person has to be IGL, but if you want to do something, call that you want to do that thing, and everyone follow it. Everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what we need to work on. Yeah.
Because you guys are great. You're doing great. You're doing so well. And, like, it's a dime a dozen that it happens in a million different teams, but the times where you play your best is when you're low-key forced to. It's when it's overtime, or it's when you're on a comp that forces you to play a specific play style and play it well, otherwise you lose, and you just lock in and do it because you know it's your only option, right? It's when you're playing like those in-between comps, like a lot of hybrid comps, or Brawl in a lot of ways, because Brawl is deceptive. It can be played in a lot of different ways. One of the strongest things about Ramatra is that he can actually bait people in by just left clicking in his normal form with a shield up. Oh, he looks like a little Sigma, like a little vulnerable robot boy. No, bitch, Nemesis. And then he claps their ass cheeks into the ground, right?
Mhm.
And that's That's more of like a bait and switch kind of playstyle where he baits them in, he makes them use their cooldowns to close the distance, and then they amp on them and fuck them up. Or you can go fully aggressive, which is the strat that Sway tends to like to go for, which is you wait, and then you call for amp and you rush them. Or you rush in with a ram ult or something like that. That usually works. Aggression works very regularly, which is why I'm not like hell bent on changing it necessarily. All I want is different play styles in your guys' arsenal as a group. Like Fen, I think you're arguably one of the best in the team for that. Actually, you switch up your play style on Lucio very regularly, depending on what the team needs from you at that given time. And I really like that from you because I think that it low-key single-handedly saves the team sometimes because sometimes you realize that you're needed.
I have a Brig half and a Lucio half. I mix them.
Dead ass. And sometimes you play Lucio like a Brig, and sometimes you play Brig like a Lucio, and it kind of works, right? Because those
Low-key, after much throwing, it started to work.
Because what is effectively doing, if you really break it down, is, you know, like offensive and defensive in its simplest form, right? Sometimes he is up there with his Ramatra, ready to amp him at a moment's notice to get him in there so that the Ramatra can do as much damage as he wants to do, like Fen was saying on King's Row. And then other times he's peeling all the way back, amping his Sojourn out, or looking after his Kiriko and booping people away when they're trying to dive her because he realizes that there's a hazard permanent on the back line, etc., etc. And I want everyone on the team to eventually have developed a couple of different play styles that they can then default to like that. That isn't just I got one look and that's it kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Because that's genuinely going to be what wins you a lot of these games, because you might get to a point where you have a comp that you're just goated at. Maybe it's one of these ball comps or whatever. And the thing that might make you genuinely unstoppable in tournaments is if you can play that comp in 7 different ways, right? You can play that comp as a hard dive. You can play that comp as a full peel. You can play that comp as chaos mode and just trying to spam them from all different angles. And your goal isn't necessarily focusing the same target. Your goal is to stress them out enough that the splash damage murders them, kind of thing, or whatever, right? That vibe will be the kicker, I think. Anyway, I've talked enough. Thank you very much for listening to my yammering. Does anyone have any comments or concerns or questions? Would you like me to leave?
No, massive thank you for the Vod review. It was really like I see you like planned this and you had like really good points. I didn't make notes since you said you have your notes.
Yes,
so
I'll polish these up and send them your way.
Yeah, lovely. And yeah, I think we're gonna like maybe start with the shot calling drills. Sorry for my voice, I'm not crying, I'm just really sick actually.
Oh no! Oh yeah, you said you had a second
Yeah.
bout of it, didn't you? Well, you
I
go
was-
and look after
was at
yourself.
Yeah,
I was
have
at
you
work
taken
with
like
fever.
any medication or something? Because like having a second bout of fever is not good. Like it's actually like
I know.
it's a big concern because that
Yeah, it's
usually
a
means
sign
like
of
this is-
I hope it's a different illness and not the same one worse.
There is a
I'll-
chance that your immune system is just low, and therefore you've contracted something else because
Yeah,
you were
I mean,
recovering from the last one.
I probably got first I got definitely the one from the military base, but also I was in a different town, so it could just be another illness from that town on top
I
of
would
the military one.
strongly recommend antibiotics though at this point.
Yeah, I might have to go to a doctor anyway because I need to take a sick leave from work.
But sorry for derailing, but
No,
I'm really
no.
grateful, and I'm so sorry that I haven't been as here as I should have been right now. I'm really sorry for that.
Don't be silly. As long as you, I hope, was able to take some things from it, then I don't mind. You could be on a boat in the Bahamas for all I care, as long as you took some
No, but I
pointers from the Vod review.
actually really appreciate it.